Today we're gonna make an apple sage sausage stuffing. It's a tongue twister, but it has so many layers of flavors. There's the sausage, and then there's apples for a little bit of sweetness, and then there's leeks and onions and all the herbs that are chopped and then cooked in butter, and they just add this beautiful like depth of flavor to the stuffing. It could be delicious on its own, or obviously as a side dish for Thanksgiving or Christmas or any sort of special occasion. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and click the bell icon to be notified every time I post a new and delicious recipe. Let's get into it. So, sausage, this stuffing is like, it's a lot, I guess, of ingredients, but it is worth it. So, I have already chopped my herbs, so I've got sage here, I have picked thyme and rosemary that I've also chopped. If you want to watch me chop those herbs, you can watch my pumpkin dinner roll recipe that's up there. They are all in there. And so without further ado, we are going to cut our leek. So I have not yet cleaned this. You want to clean it once it is sliced. So you're going to go ahead and kind of cut off this bit. Okay, so you can save this for stock if you'd like. It's a great vegetable stock or addition to your chicken stock. And then we're going to cut it in half. So long ways, like this. And the thing about leeks is that they grow in the ground, as one would imagine, and they get dirt all up in them. So we are gonna run this under cold water and then we're gonna come right back. So our leeks are clean. And we are going to, now you have decisions. You can kind of slice this in rounds like this, but I think I'm gonna actually do this in quarters and just kind of start chopping your leeks. Like finely, right? You want them to cook nicely. You want them to be a little bit in every single bite. You know, you want an equal distribution of leeks, and you don't want any sort of like large leaf piece just chilling. So now on my stovetop over here, I have some melted butter, and I'm gonna take all of these leeks. Yes, and I'm gonna put that in that butter. I'm gonna turn my stove back on to kind of medium, right? We're not trying to brown them, we're trying to kind of just sweat the moisture out and really release their flavors and kind of get the juices going, if you will. So just go ahead and get that in there. The other thing that is going to go in this buttery goodness pot is, move my bread, is all of our herbs. So I've got rosemary, put that in, thyme, sage, and that's it. And that way they all start to release their flavors because those woody herbs, they release their flavors when they get warm and heat up. So we are going to facilitate that. We want all of the herb flavor in this stuffing. Now we're not done over here because we are going to add an onion to this mix. So go ahead and slice off all the top and the tush. Cut it in half, peel it, and then we are going to small dice. So what I mean by that is we're gonna take that and slice like this way, and then we're gonna slice, go back the other direction and slice long ways, and then we are going to go back in the other direction and make our dice. There they are, looking great. And then the butt, you just want to kind of chop. You can, of course, do this step ahead of time before you start your leeks, but you know, it's not, if you work quickly, it doesn't really matter. Okay, lovely. Now these are going to go in with our leeks. Now we have one more thing to do with our cutting board, and that is our apples. So just go ahead and give this a little stir. Just kind of, you know, stir it together and make sure it's evenly incorporated. You got butter coating everything. If it sounds like it's getting too intense, then just go ahead and turn it down. Again, we're trying to sweat it. We're not trying to brown it or anything. We want all of those flavors to come out. So now that they've started to kind of release their juices, we're going to hit it with a little bit of salt. You know, you want to kind of salt as you go. You know, you're seasoning as you go. You want to make sure that every single layer is seasoned and as delicious as possible without over salting the whole dish. Plus the salt at this stage will help draw out the water that is in the onions and the leeks, and it will help it cook faster. Okay, now we are going to peel our apples. You can of course leave the skins on your apples. I just think, with the stuffing, it's nice for it to kind of bake into the dish, and rather than be kind of, its own freestanding thing. You want all the flavors to meld and blend, and you don't want any one overpowering the others. Now we are going to dice these, so go ahead and just kind of cut around the core. Now you want them to be, you don't want it to be like a huge bite of apple. You want it to all blend together, so the way to do that would be to kind of make a small dice, right? So we're gonna kind of cut each apple in half, like we did the onions, right? And then we're gonna go back and we're gonna cut kind of strips, if you will. You don't wanna stay quite like the onion, but that's okay. And then go back and cut the other direction, and that's where you get your small dice. So each one is like, half centimeter. Now in my bowl here, I've got 6 cups, more or less, of day-old bread. This is kind of like a crusty Italian bread. You can use whatever the bread of your choosing is, but we're just gonna take these apples and put them straight in there. Okay, and then we are done with our cutting board. Thank heavens. We can go ahead and start adding our liquids to this so that we can let it kind of go ahead and start absorbing. So I've got chicken stock here, bonus points for homemade, but it's okay if it's not. And then we've got, I always use low sodium though, or no sodium. I don't salt my chicken stocks when I make them, because you want to control the amount of salt that goes into the whole thing. And then I've got apple cider here. And then I have an egg, but I'm gonna hold that just until I'm done tasting it for seasoning, so that I'm not eating raw egg. So you just wanna stir your leeks every now and again, check in with them, make sure that they're not burning, adjust the temperature as needed. These are almost done. You can see that they've kind of softened, and the onions are looking a bit more translucent. They're not totally done. I want them to be perfectly soft, even though they are going to bake again. I just want them to be their best selves. All right, these look awesome. So we are gonna take these and we're gonna put them in our dish here. Another reason you don't want the egg, so that it doesn't cook or anything like that. And then in this pan, we're not done with this pan, we are going to add our sausage. So I've got Italian sausage here. You can use chicken sausage if you'd like, if you prefer, or even vegan, totally cool, like tofu. Go ahead and get that in there. You just want the flavor of the sausage, right? So kind of keep it on medium, low. And I've removed the casings. So you also want to do that. It's a bit of a pain with chicken sausage, but you do want to do that with chicken sausage. You could dice them if you'd like, but it is better if you just take that time to actually remove the casing. Now I'm just breaking it up, and we are just going to cook this until it is fully cooked. Yes, it's going to go in the oven, but you don't want to have to wonder if your sausage is cooked. You want to know that your sausage is cooked. So the best way to do that, just do it ahead of time. And then also you're going to get some of that nice caramelization from the browning in the pan. And that, my friends, is flavor. All right, our sausage is cooked. We're going to go ahead and add that over here. It's going to be blazing hot, so just be aware of that and be careful. Because of course our next step here is of course mixing. So I'm just going to start by tossing this all together with my spatula. It is very hot, and I'm not going to be silly about that. All right, so go ahead and just kind of toss it together. And also what we're looking for at this moment is the moistness of our bread. So if I'm being honest, I didn't measure my bread. I eyeballed it, which I'm feeling like right now I probably overestimated. So here we are. I just put the whole loaf in there and was like, I think it's good. And it's not that serious, so you can totally do that and it's 100% okay. But you have to be ready to adjust. Otherwise you're gonna have dry stuffing. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and look at this, and I'm thinking I definitely need more moistness. So I've got a little bit more chicken stock that I poured into my cup here in anticipation of the epic volume of stuffing that I decided to create here today. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there, and then I'm going to adjust. I am also, you wanna make sure that you don't want wet bread, right? You want, you know, perfectly moistened bread so that it's, you know, it's gonna hold its shape. You don't, you know, I don't like just kind of like a gooey stuffing. Now we are looking pretty good here. I am going to give it a taste and see how she's shaken up. So you want to test the bread, obviously. It's pretty good. Excuse me. I think it does need a little bit of salt. I used unsalted chicken stock, so you know, all of the salt that we've added so far is either in the sausage, which is pretty salty generally, or the 2 pinches that we put into the leeks, the aromatics. So you want to make sure that you've got, you know, a nice bit of seasoning. I was anticipating mixing this by hand, it's a glove, but this is working quite well, so I feel no need. Okay, just taste one more time. I'm gonna taste with a different hand than I was obviously seasoning with this hand, so this hand is salty. Now it sounds weird, but you know, some of it sticks to your fingers, even just microscopically, and it's going to taste saltier than the actual pudding itself. Want like, a little bit more, and we're gonna hit it with some black pepper, and then we're gonna mix in our egg, and we're gonna be like, perfection. This is looking divine. Okay, get our egg. This is gonna help hold it together. It's not 100% necessary. If you don't wanna put it in there, say you are making it vegan, you don't have to put it in. It's not, you know, essential. It does help your stuffing stay together and kind of create that one beautiful kind of custardy type texture as opposed to just pieces of bread together in a bowl. We're ready. I've got to go get my casserole dish and make sure I have one that's big enough, and then we're good. Ta-da! Okay, all we're gonna do is put all of this in here and call it a day. So, made that look like there was some sort of extra special flourish to it. There just wasn't. Okay. Oh, she's so pretty. It's also a lot of stuff. Go ahead and give it a spread out. Now, if you wanted to add a little bit of chopped pecans or something like that, you could do that for a little texture, a little crunch, but I don't feel like the nuttiness is necessary. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and I'm gonna put this in there without further ado, because we've been chit-chatting about her for so long, I just want to taste. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this in there, uncovered, as she is. It'll probably bake about 30 minutes. It really depends. You want it to kind of, it'll kind of like rise a little bit, and when you press on it, it'll feel a little bit like Jell-O. It'll kind of give when pressed, but not be squishy. So, because again, we want to cook that egg, we want to make sure that everything is set. So in she goes. It's out. It baked about 40 minutes. Again, when you touch it, it kind of feels, you know, like it bounces back a little bit. The top is a nice golden brown, and you can see that it's just really like there's some crispy bits, and then it's just soft and tender on the inside. So we can either serve this now, we can let it cool. You can of course make this the day before and then bake it the day of for, you know, kind of your best freshness. But of course you can mix it, you know, up to 2 days in advance. Without further ado, it's time to try. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get myself a nice little dish here. Right here in the corner. I think this is a good spot. All right, let's do it. Let's dig in. It's very hot. I'm just gonna blow on it. Get myself a little bit of everything here and make sure I've got like the perfect bite, you know? Yum. It is soft and tender and moist. and incredibly flavorful from all of the leeks and the herbs. And the sausage like adds a little bit of saltiness and a little bit of heat from the peppers. And it's just this wonderful, really savory stuffing. It's just absolutely decadent. Yes, decadence.